Hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey coming at you with another thrifting video. I'm getting a lot of comments on some of my bag video about you're lucky you have great thrift stores. I wish my thrift stores had items like that. Almost as if the quality of the thrift store determines the quality of the finds. And sometimes that's true, but I think there's a couple strategies that you can employ to increase the likelihood that you will find kit and gear to help you be better prepared for what's to come. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the prepping channel for the 68%. A bunch of normies driving regular vehicles, having regular jobs, doing regular like family type stuff who want to be prepared for whatever is to come. If you're one of my loyal subscribers, welcome back. You guys know that I love you like, what do I love you like? I love you like that favorite great aunt who sends you money on every birthday. She also sends you quality crocheted items in the mail for your birthday too and for Christmas. But you don't really like to go over to her house because it smells funny and it's not very spacious and the setup is really weird. So you're not comfortable there. I love you like that. All right, I'm gonna go into a thrift store, hopefully get some good footage and maybe find some quality items. And then we'll do some commentary. Hang around. All right, when I go into a store, I usually will do the same rotation around the outside of the store, checking some key areas, leaving clothing for last. I'm always checking wood items for handles of any sort. I found a pretty good axe handle once. Then I'll hit water bottles. This store doesn't really produce very many, but every once in a while I'll find a gem. Usually right next to this is housewares, so I'm always looking for cooking gear, backpacking stoves, little cook kits and those kind of things. And then in this one on the back wall here, usually they have medical items. So I will find first aid gear, find some gauze, some bandages and things like that, or toiletries that I'm always looking to add to kits. Now here they have the electronics section. I'm never really looking for any electronics, but I always kind of peruse this a little bit just to see if I can find anything. And on the back side of this is something I'm really interested in, which is tools. So I'll spend a little bit more time in tools. I'm always looking for jumper cables or hand tools. There's a couple pretty good saws and some hammers here today. I do find an octagonal vintage handled hammer, which is pretty cool. But I have a lot of hammers already, and this would just be for looks, which I don't really have money to do. But I'm always looking for good hand tools that can help me, do projects and that kind of thing and do maintenance. This store's kind of messy, not a great selection, but I always encourage you to look in the corners. Look down, look up, look in these bins. Sporting goods section, and I always look down inside these bins. Like here's a 10-person tent for $35. That's not a bad deal, assuming it's complete. And next to this is more sporting goods, and on the bottom shelf here in a second, you're gonna see another tent. That's a big one up there. This one is a Kelty Grand Mesa 6, so a 6-person tent, pretty good size, but I don't need any more medium-sized tents, so I skip that. But you can find scuba gear. I found snowshoes here. This is a canopy of some sort. Sometimes I find workout equipment, jump ropes, kettlebells. There's some weights there. Rollerblades for my daughter, which she wants. So I always hit the sporting goods section, skip furniture, skip sewing. I move to the back of the room here, and along this back wall is all of the blankets. I'm always looking for wool blankets and sleeping bags. So here I find a blanket that might be wool, but I'm not positive. I can't find a tag on it. So if I can't find a tag, I assume that I'm being lied to. It's usually acrylic, and I can't really tell the difference. But this feels like wool to me, but I skip it just because I can't properly identify it. And then I find a sleeping bag here, a Wenzel sleeping bag, but it is a synthetic blend, and I've got lots of sleeping bags. So I skip on this one, plus it's $16.99. Doesn't look like it's in bad shape, but I just don't need another one and don't have room for it. So these closets are interesting too. These used to be dressing rooms that they took away, but I always look at yard equipment. I'm looking for saws. Look at this thing. This is a giant handsaw for cutting wood. And this is pretty cool. It's $6 too. I just don't know what I would do with that. I don't use that for a lot of sewing. So here, I always look down inside these bins too. I'm looking for shovels. I'm looking for axes mostly. There's a vintage shovel right at the back of this one, kind of buried in the dark back here. So it's good to have snow shovels too before winter. I look for those in summertime. Those are extremely useful. You can find the really thick, nice steel ones that help you remove. There's some sleds too for winter coming up. Brooms, things like that. I will always check the scarves too. Most of these are ladies' scarves, but here's a good example. This is 100% wool, masculine looking, so I could pull this off. and it would be a great addition to like a kit for warmth in the wintertime. Here's a dry cleaning tag, which is one indication that it's made of wool and marked. So yeah, that's a nice scarf, but I find that I don't wear them even when I buy them, so I skip it. And then at the back of the room here, I'm always looking for suitcases, for backpacks, any sort of items that can carry gear and equipment and that can be added, be built into new kits. There's God's camo, but that's just a purse. So I'm looking for fanny packs, any sort of bags that might have value or that I could use in my setup. And then I go to shoes, since this is the way that the store is set up here. I look for boots, I look for running shoes, any sort of winter boots. There's a couple pair of rubber boots at the top of this shelf here, which are a little too big for me, but they're not a bad price. These are good for trouncing around in the woods, for floods, for emergencies, things like that. So those are always kind of nice to get. And then lastly, I will end in the glass case. So this store separates out some of their nicer stuff. You'll see a lot of thrift stores doing that. But even the stuff in the case is not priced that bad, but it's usually a little bit higher than what you might find out on the floor. Here's a big pair of cover. Oh, I thought this was silver, but it's not. Usually that's just copper that's plated with silver. Here's a pair of coveralls, which are pretty nice. They're insulated, but they're double XL, way too big for me. But that's a nice piece of winter gear there for, looks like $20. So yeah, that's kind of my rotation around the store. And the reason I filmed this, and I didn't find anything. A lot of people are saying in the comments that their stores don't have anything, right? And that's the case most of the time. Most of my trips to the thrift store don't yield anything. That's why I'm so systematic about the way I move around the store, what I'm looking for, and what I'm hoping to get. So I get skunked most of the time. I mean, most of the time I just do not find anything that's good. So I try to spend under 10 minutes in there. If I have more than 10 minutes, then I might hit the clothing section looking for, thermals, looking for some pants that fit or some belts and those kind of things. But the vast majority of the time, I leave the store empty-handed. Plus, I'm cheap, so that kind of helps too. If I don't love it, and if it doesn't add to my capability or to my preps, I usually will just skip it and leave it behind. So I'll usually hit sweaters and jackets because, I don't know, I'm kind of obsessed with winter gear, and my family staying warm in the winter. Winter makes me nervous, even though I love it. So you can find some really good items. Here's a vintage. I think I come across a vintage Columbia here. Kind of bright, like a ski jacket, but that's not a bad piece of gear. But anyway, I just wanted to demonstrate that not every trip to the thrift store is a success. In fact, most of the time, I leave empty-handed. Being successful in thrifting for preps is not about, I get the feeling that people are stopping into thrift stores once a month and expecting to find treasure. It's about repetition. It's about frequency. It's like dollar cost averaging, right? Be quick about it. Find out what thrift stores are in your local area. Find out what those thrift stores are good for, like what items you tend to find that are good there. Some of them are good for shoes, some of them are good for jackets, some of them are good for sporting equipment. Thrift stores in better neighborhoods tend to produce better because people are more affluent who are donating to that store. So figure out where the good ones are and then just work them. I never go to a thrift store specifically to go to that thrift store, hardly ever. Most of them I stop by on my way to somewhere else. If it's on my route already, my route, if it's on the way already, I'll stop in there. And if I'm on my way somewhere else and I have a certain amount of time, I'll hit it for 5 minutes. And I'll just do my rotation and hit those exact spots, knowing what to look for, and I'm out of there. If I don't see anything, if I have more time to like lollygag a little bit, my wife calls it the Stevie Wonder route, where I just kind of walk around doing my own thing. I'll stop at clothing, but usually I'll skip clothing. If I'm short on time, I'll just hit that loop, hit the outside of the store, hit all the key areas, and take off. That's the way that I've been able to find gems. It's about frequency. You begin to learn which thrift stores are good, which ones have high rotation, and you begin to find good items. So I would say probably 80% of the time, I leave thrift stores empty-handed. So I know you guys watched my backpack video and you're like, oh, I could never find that. That's 4 years worth of probably hitting 2 to 3 thrift stores a week. Sometimes the same stores 2 to 3 times a week. Even the sucky stores, every once in a while, will get something good and you'll happen to be there right at the right time when they put that item out, and boom, that's how it happens. So find a way to make it convenient, find a way to make it easy, and start getting those reps in, because the more you visit them, the more you increase your likelihood of success in finding gear and equipment and tools and things like that that can help us be better prepared for things to come. That's all I've got. This is Mike Tango Whiskey, and I'm all clear.